Hey everyone, welcome to Wood with Handles, a baseball podcast for fans by fans. This is episode 13 for the week of July 8th. I'm Ryan.
I'm Josh.
Hey, what's up? It's Johnny.
Before we get started this week, we want to take a moment of silence for the firefighters who lost their lives in the wildfires in Arizona. Before we get started this week, if you could do us a favor, wherever you're listening to this at, whether it's iTunes or YouTube or on our website or Stitcher or however you consume this show, just give us a like. If you're on YouTube, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you hate us. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. If you're on iTunes, it's a 5-star rating, so give us 1 to 5 stars, however you feel. This actually really helps us out a lot. It helps us get us up in the ranking, the viewerships, and will help us in search results and help people find our show. And it's really helpful to us in general.
We just want your feedback, guys. We just want your feedback.
Let us know how much you hate us or love us. With that being said, so how you guys been this past week?
The week's good. It's had the weekend's almost over, but at least the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from the Giants. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I mean, I'm just off a good weekend of relaxation, a little sunburnt, a little tired, but everything's good here. That's good.
Where were you? Where'd you go?
Oh, I was up in Rose City here in Michigan, up north.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
It's good to hear. Glad you guys have been good. I haven't been up to a whole lot of nothing. Cleaning, just getting things organized. A little spring cleaning, I guess you could say. Watched a lot of White Sox baseball. Watched them take 2 or 3 from the Orioles, and then promptly get their ass kicked by the Rays.
Well, yeah. Hey, I guess if people didn't know, you got a baby on the way, right? Hey,
I do have
soon.
I do have a baby on the way, and that's been kind of the focus the past few weekends. I only work part-time, so I take my extended weekends to clean and organize, and just it's a lot of spring cleaning, the best way to put it. Throwing away a lot of clothes I never wear and a lot of eBay and stuff, and just getting
ready for the arrival of baby Hart, huh?
Yeah.
When's it due?
August 17th to the 20th, pending. Every time we go to the doctors, it's a different date.
Do you know the sex yet?
Female.
Nice.
Yeah. It's really exciting. Speaking of exciting, the All-Star lineups were announced the other day. What do you guys think about the starting lineups for AL and NL?
All in all, I'm pretty satisfied myself. There were a few real questionables, and there's always the snubs and the people that people don't agree with. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I guess I really can't complain too much. A lot of people who earned it, I felt like are there. And then there's those questionable guys. But, I'm pretty happy overall.
I'm pretty good with the lineups as well. Just looking through it, I'd say the AL East. I mean, the AL doesn't have the cachet it usually does in previous years. I mean, I feel like we definitely have a balanced offensive battle in the American League and National League as far as the All-Star game goes these days. So I think, I think it's anyone's ball game, but I think the right players are there, and it should be a great game. I can't wait till next Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean,
is there anybody that you guys think are? I'm sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
I was just saying I was going to agree with both of you guys. I think it's pretty well evened up. Ryan, you were saying that you think there's some people who might not have deserved to be there. You care to elaborate?
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to get killed for this, but Justin Verlander has been kind of up and down all year. And granted, Jim Wheeland is coaching the team, but I mean he's kind of on the questionable mark for me. Ortiz, I guess Ortiz has been pretty good, but I think overall probably Verlander's the one that's kind of right there on the edge for me right now. So I guess that would be the only guy that I would say is there.
Kind of surprised Torrey Hunter made the team. I mean, he's having a decent year. He's hitting 300, only five home runs, though. It doesn't seem like those are really all-star numbers. I guess he's kind of coasting on his reputation at this point.
Yeah, he had a pretty good game today, from what I heard. Hit a either 1 or 2 nice home runs. I'm legitimately. I mean, I guess Verlander you can make a case for, but I mean, it's Justin Verlander is Justin Verlander. I'm even though I'm a Tigers hater, I don't disagree with any of it. I think it's a little excessive that there's 6 Tigers plus their coach on the team. I mean, you might as well.
A little excessive, yeah.
Yeah, it might as well be the Tigers versus the National League. But I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with it. The Tigers are a really good team, and arguably one of the better teams in the National or in the American League.
I mean, but it's kind of odd, and I say this every week, but to have 6 all-stars on this all-star team and to be playing the way they are is kind of odd to me. But I mean, yeah, like you said, it might be a little obsessive, but who knows?
Yeah.
Like I said, I guess we'll see. Half of them probably won't even get into the game.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about starting pitching?
Yeah, I mean, the starters, I guess the starter that I think it's going to be Scherzer, because he's 13-0 and Leland's managing, but I feel he's probably going to be the right guy for the AL, and then I think probably the most obvious pick for the NL is going to be Matt Harvey. I think that's kind of where I feel on that one.
I know where Johnny stands on this, so let's hear it.
I mean, I've gone back and forth on this a lot. I mean, the 2 obvious names for the NL, we're definitely looking at Kershaw, and we're definitely looking at Matt Harvey, and I can see an argument for both ways. I mean, if we're going off of reputation on what they bring to the table, it's really hard to argue against Clayton Kershaw. He has the lowest ERA of any player in Major League Baseball history after 1,000 innings, and I think if he's the best pitcher in baseball right now. That being said, Matt Harvey is obviously a phenomenal young pitcher. I mean, he really broke out this year. His stuff is just absolutely filthy, and he's going to be around for a long time. And you can have a legitimate case for both guys. And I've thought about this back and forth, and it really comes down to what pushes it over for me is that it's going to be in Citi Field. And why not give it to Matt Harvey? Why not give it to the Mets fans? They don't really have a lot to look forward to these days. And it'll just be a really nice sight to see. It'll really get the fans pumped up, and it'll just make it an overall good event. But I think Clayton Kershaw is probably the best guy for it.
I'm going to go with Matt Harvey for the National League. I think he this year is the best pitcher, period. I mean, going to All-Star break. But you can't really take anything away from Kershaw. He obviously is very impressive, but I think Matt Harvey is, I have to agree with Ryan, the best pitcher that there is for that. As far as the American League goes, though, Scherzer will probably get it because of Leland. I don't think he necessarily deserves it, though. I'm going to flip-flop on this. Last week, you two argued basically that Scherzer's wins don't necessarily matter because the rest of his stats aren't all that impressive. They're not terrible, but they're not really groundbreaking. I'm going to flip-flop and say while I think his wins do matter to an extent, I mean, it's pretty phenomenal to see that. I don't necessarily think that he should start. I think I'm more of a Yu Darvish fan. I think Yu Darvish should do it. I also could make an argument, a totally, completely 100% biased argument for Chris Sale. I am obviously a White Sox fan. He's had a really phenomenal season, contrary to their horrible, horrible season as a team. I mean, he's pitching, I believe, just under 3 ERA right now. I could be wrong about that. He had a pretty rough outing yesterday. So, yeah, it's to me, Yu Darvish against Harvey.
Let me ask you guys a quick question. If I could.
Okay.
There's been kind of an underground movement, and I've heard a little bit about this. People who want Mariano Rivera to start the actual All-Star game as the starting pitcher. Do you think there's a chance that could ever happen, or should it happen?
I would like to see it happen, but I don't think it will happen.
I'm all for things that are very cool, and that sounds very cool, and it is in New York, so I'm definitely for it. But I find that really hard to imagine that's going to happen. I mean, I think overall relievers are pretty overrated. I don't like the fact that we have so many relievers on the All-Star team as is. People like Steven Strasburger left off the All-Star team in a little bit of a down year, but I mean, he's much more of a talented player than half of these relievers, and if we're only going to pitch one inning anyway, why not? But Mariano Rivera, sure, let him start the All-Star game. That would be great.
Yeah, I like it. There's no way in hell. Like, it would be really cool to see, I don't really foresee that happening at all.
Don't see it happening.
Yeah, because it's his farewell tour, and if it happens, cool. I'm kind of on the same lines as you guys. I don't see it happening at all. He's a closer. I don't think there's any chance he starts. He'll be in the game one way or the other. He's not going to be the pitcher that doesn't play, but he'll be in there. And like I said, if he starts, cool. If not, I'm not going to be hurt about it.
Yeah. Obviously we just mentioned Strasburg, but who do you guys think are some of the snubs this year?
To be honest, I don't really know. It's hard to tell because anybody who I would have wanted on the team is there for me. So I'm kind of indecisive on this one.
I definitely think Strasburg is there. I think Mike Minor's had a pretty good year, and he's someone again that I think should have probably been on the All-Star team as opposed to some of these relievers. It's just really hard. There's so many talented pitchers, and a lot of them get bunched up on one team, so it's really hard to get them all in, especially when you have to get one player from each team on. So I think there's a lot of starters that just don't get their due, and Mike Minor and Steven Strasburg are definitely two of them.
For me, it's both American League guys, but I would say Josh Donaldson, Athletics, and Evan Longoria.
That's a good one.
Obviously, they're both third basemen, and there's two phenomenal third basemen ahead of them in Miguel Cabrera and Manny Machado. But it's just a shame that they can't be fit in somewhere. I mean, they're both really good. It's just there's no way in hell that they were going to make that team with those two guys ahead of them. I mean, just too much of a competition there.
It's so gridlocked at third base. I mean, even if they were to have great years, Manny Machado and Cabrera, what they're doing right now, it'd be hard to fit those two in there with those two playing so well.
Yeah, National League side, Ian Desmond and Sin-Shu Chu are the only two that really stick out to me. Neither of which I'm mad that they're not in there. I'm just probably had the biggest chance to me, I should say. I'm not mad that they're not there though. Someone else who
I'd agree with you on Su Chu, for real, on him.
I mean, yeah, he's really good, but I mean, obviously there's a handful of better outfielders in the National League, so I just don't think he really stood a chance. Kind of same thing. I'm not really mad that he didn't make it. He's good. He will probably be All-Star at some point in time if he keeps up the way he's been playing, but not too mad about it. Somebody who we have not mentioned who across the board has been named as a snub is Yasiel Puig. Jonathan Papelbon the other day said Puig should not be allowed to play in the All-Star game because he has not done his time. Apparently there is some rule, which there is not, but there is some fan or player-made rule that you have to spend a certain amount of time in the league before you can be on the All-Star team. Bryce Harper and Mike Trout only played in 20 extra games than Puig has at this point last year before they made the All-Star team. How do you guys feel about this?
Papelbon, I mean, for Papelbon to be saying that, I guess whatever, because it's Papelbon and he's blown a number of saves this year and he's going to end up getting traded anyway, so I guess he could probably just keep his mouth shut on that. But like you said, it's one of those unwritten rules that you have to kind of pay your dues. I would like to see him on the All-Star team, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, and there's a lot of people that feel very strongly that he hasn't put in his time and that he doesn't deserve it yet because he's so young and so fresh. But I mean, in a sense, the All-Star game it's about marketing your best talent, and you want people to watch. And I think the only way people are going to watch is if you have that best talent there. And Puig right now is among one of the most exciting and most talented guys in the league. So I agree he should be there.
I definitely agree as well. I mean, Jonathan Papelbon definitely needs to calm down. And as far as things I want to see in an All-Star game, Jonathan Papelbon is probably on the bottom of that list. But we can already talk about Yasiel Puig as if he is on the All-Star team because, in my opinion, he's already an All-Star because there is absolutely no chance in hell that he loses this fan vote. So he's an All-Star. We are absolutely going to be seeing him on Citi Field, whether he deserves to or not. I mean, it's a really healthy debate and it's overall good, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna also err on the side of marketing and entertainment, and I want to see Yasiel Puig just like I wanted to see Harper and Trout last year, and just like next year, hopefully there'll be some other breakout guy that comes out of the minors and just starts beasting it right away, and I'm going to want to see that guy as well. And I think a lot of this whole all-star debates in terms of whether this guy should go on and all these unwritten rules really stems from a problem, a fundamental flaw that I see in the All-Star game, and that is it a marketing, an exhibition game, or is it an actual competition for home field in the World Series? Because the two seem to be mutually exclusive, but at the same time they overlap, and we get all these sort of what ifs, should they be? Puig hasn't proven it, so I mean, if you're actually trying to, try to win the game, I mean, maybe he's not the safest selection, but at the same time, I mean, he's going to put asses in the seat, and people are going to watch because they want to see him.
Yeah, I agree. I want Puig in the All-Star game. Part of me slightly agrees with the whole he hasn't done his time thing. I don't think there's a set number. But on the flip side, I mean, he's not cooling down. I mean, I think it was yesterday, Johnny can correct me, but yesterday he went 0 for 4. But that's the only time he hasn't had a hit since he's been up. I mean,
0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts.
Yeah.
The golden sombrero.
I mean, the only time that this has happened to this man, he's breaking all kinds of records. He's the face of baseball right now. He's what makes baseball exciting, and it's a shame that we're not going to get this. I mean,
we are getting it, though.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be on the team.
Well,
there's no way he's not going to – there's no way he's going to lose the fan vote.
No, because after they announced the fan votes, the voting for him – and I don't know this because I didn't actually go to the site to do it until today, but someone could correct me if not. But he crashed the website. Not he did, but the fans of Puig crashed the website. So many people were voting for him. I mean,
I'm pretty sure if possible, Puig could actually crash a website physically.
Oh,
and it's to me he's got it. There's no way he's not going to be in it. It's just a shame that he can't be considered outright, even as a starter. I mean, it would be nice to see him and Harper both in the outfield in the National League. That would be for me something just fun and exciting to see.
Yeah, and on the flip side, I'd really like to see him hit against Scherzer because Scherzer's pitching so well right now, and I'd just like to see what Puig would do against him. I think it'd be exciting.
Yeah, I think a starter might be a little bit too premature at this point, but just that fact that he's going to be there and hopefully he'll get a bat or two is enough for me. And it's definitely going to make the latter half of the All-Star game, which is usually kind of boring at that point because all the starters are gone. It's gonna put some viewers at the end of the game that normally wouldn't be there. So it might actually be a good thing that he's not starting.
Yeah, something you mentioned earlier, Johnny, was whether this should be an exhibition or a competitive game. I mean, how do you feel about that? What should this be?
It's so stupid, the fact that, this determines home field advantage. Just do what every other sport does, and the team that has the best record gets home field advantage. This is by far an exhibition game, and I think it changes the way that everybody watches and managers do things. So, they got to get rid of this. This is so stupid, so dumb.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. People might defer on whether they want an All-Star game to be very competitive or very entertaining. I'm always going to side on entertaining. We have competitive games. There's basically 15 every single day. Why not have one that's going to be entertaining? I agree with them, but put the rule in a couple years back to increase the viewership, and maybe it's done that. I'm not 100% sure, but what it has done is really affected how we talk about the All-Star game, and it's a lot of confusion. I mean, the fans get to vote for the starters in the final vote, but it also counts for something important. But we have to have players. We have to have one player representative from each team, when that might not be the best strategic move for a manager that's trying to just win the game. We have too many relievers on the team, when I think if we're only going to pitch one inning anyway, there are much more effective starters. So there's a lot of just overlapping interests that just do not mesh in the All-Star game, and they really need to make it all-out competitive, or they need to make it all-out entertaining. My vote's for entertaining.
I agree. I would rather see entertaining, but on the flip side, I mean, something we talked about before we were recording, Johnny and I, was how bogus the NBA All-Star Game has become. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, nobody really pays attention, and it's not really exciting till the end. It's really just kind of almost like a dunk contest at this point. But then nobody participates in the dunk contest, and kind of vice versa. In baseball, nobody other than Prince Fielder, a lot of times we don't see the biggest names in the home run derby. I mean, we're probably not going to see Chris Davis in the home run derby, which is a shame, because 33 home runs at this point, probably more before the All-Star break. I'm assuming he's going to hit at least 2 more in the next week. I mean, it's losing the whole excitement factor and the entertainment factor, and it would be nice if we got back to it just being entertaining. I would love to see it get back to the point where the best record decides it, because decides home field advantage, because that's a shame that you can play your ass off all season and someone could scrape in as a wild card and then they can end up having home field advantage.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like with the new interleague rules, that kind of changes this a little bit too, because there's more interleague play than there ever was. So I kind of feel that, I mean, a couple things you either need to change here or there. If they're going to go strictly to have it where managers are going to be like, okay, we need to win this game, so whoever wins this game gets home field, then you need to either leave out one, having a player from every team, or two, you got to make sure that, it's going to be something where back in the day, every player used to get in the game. Now, if might be players that don't get in the game because the managers have to play a little bit of strategy towards the end of the game to kind of push to win the game. So I think it changes a few things. And if they got rid of that rule altogether, I feel like everything would fall back into its natural place for the All-Star game.
How is Chris Davis not on the home run derby? That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's official yet, but
I hope not.
Yeah, it's a shame that he won't be. I'm sure Prince Fielder will be in it because I feel like the man is in it every year and wins every year. But it's just a shame that we don't see that. I would love to see the Chris Davises. I mean, the big names in it, the ones who are known to be home run hitters in it, and we don't get that. I think
he needs to be there. I think he needs to.
It'd be nice to see Puig there, etc. But obviously, we all agree across the board that Puig is going to be the NL Finals vote. Who do you guys think is coming out of the American League for the Finals vote?
I'll go first on this one, but I'm very adamant on my position on this. Why are the fans voting for a middle reliever in the All-Star game? It sounds like the stupidest thing ever. I follow baseball very closely, and I don't really want to have to look up the ERA, the WHIP, the FIP for Steve Delabar, Koji Uehara, and it just makes no sense why this is in our hands. I don't think any of these guys are all-stars, should be all-stars, just because what I mentioned earlier about relievers, let alone having millions of people subject them to vote, because this is just going to be a popularity contest. There's no way this vote is going to be any bit of any serious sort of. I'm just very mad about this.
So who'd you vote for, Johnny?
I honestly voted for Puig, and then I'm not going to look it up because I don't care and it doesn't really matter. So I neglected to use my civic duty and vote for an American League final roster spot because I don't believe in middle relievers and I don't want to have to spend time justifying one of these picks.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Johnny. I could really give a shit which guy comes out of the AL, and I'm pressing Puig's name all day, every day. That's all I really care about.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. Honestly, the AL vote doesn't even matter. I mean, Benoit, Delabar, Robertson, Sheppers, and Uehara. It doesn't interest me at all. It's as long as Puig's there, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I think Puig will get in. I think
Puig is in, okay? He's in. Let's just talk about it like he's in.
Okay, Puig's in. Out of the American League, though, I think Benoit will get it, but I voted for Delabar because he's the only one really who I had really any kind of. I've seen him at the Blue Jays have played the White Sox a few times, so I've seen him at games, and I know the name a little bit. I don't know a ton about him, and I'm a Tigers hater, so I didn't want to vote for Benoit. But I think Benoit will get it. I just think the Tigers.
Do you really think fans will vote for a seventh Tiger?
Yeah.
I don't know what makes you think I don't know what makes any of these guys to be the favorite to actually get a fan vote as a middle reliever. The average fan does not know who any of these players are.
No,
unless you're a fan of that team, you probably know that middle reliever. I know Dave Robertson has been one of the best middle relievers in all of baseball. He could have been a very successful closer if he wasn't behind Mariano Rivera. But unless you're a huge baseball nerd like I am or like we are, or you're a fan of one of these specific teams, you don't know who these guys are, and you shouldn't, and none of these guys should be all-stars.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm voting for anybody for the AL, I guess it's going to be Koji Uehara because for the pure fact that Boston has the best record in the AL. I mean, none other than that because, that's all there is to it.
All right, moving on to our next topic. Obviously, the All-Star game is big news, but Homer Bailey threw his second no-hitter this week. He was actually the last person to do it last year, and he threw a second one this year. Not only is it impressive that he threw 2 no-hitters in his career, it's impressive that he's done it in less than 1 calendar year, less than 1 really full season, because it was in August of last year that he did it, and really within about 5 months of doing the last one, and he was the last person to do it. So to me, it's overall pretty amazing. He had a perfect game going till the 7th. Not sure who he walked at that point, but it was overall pretty amazing that he's been able to do this, especially someone who, I mean, Homer Bailey's not like, we're not talking to you Darvish here, CC Sabathia, Chris Sale. I mean, we're not talking the big names in baseball. We're talking really kind of like a number 2, 3 guy.
Yeah, Homer Bailey, he was really, really, really impressive. I was nervous for him there at the end. I don't know why I was, because he was just dominating the whole game. I mean, he had the 1 walk, and he was 1 walk away from a perfect game. And then there was one play that I think it was Joey Votto made to preserve the no-hitter, which was
an amazing play.
Yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic play. But I mean, he was just really, really great. I mean, he was nasty the whole game. And I think his pitch count was I don't know, I think just above 100 pitches.
104.
104, but I think if I heard it correctly, and I don't know if I'm dead right on this, but I believe 84 or 85 of those were fastballs. He threw barely any off-speed pitches, and I mean, he was whatever he's doing, he's found the success and the key to throwing no-hitters, because he's been very good at the last couple of months. Like you said, Josh, he had the last one last year and then the first one this year. So all in all, he's been an average pitcher, but I mean, for one night, it was really great.
He has found the key to throwing no-hitters. But, I mean, Bailey was a big-time prospect. I mean, he's never really lived up to the billing. I mean, he's not a number 1. He's probably not a number 2 either on a really good team. But he's definitely turned around his career, and he's definitely a very solid pitcher. Makes the Reds a really dangerous team because they are balanced just all across the board. And you know what? Good for him. I mean, it was a great game. That Votto play that we just talked about was amazing. You pretty much need one of those in every single kind of no-hitter. Almost had the perfect game. Just really impressive stuff. Josh, you're from Chicago. How does it feel to see Homer Bailey throw 2 no-hitters before Derrick Rose plays a game?
Yeah, I don't care. I'm a Heat fan, so I don't. I could give a shit less. Well, I think Derrick Rose is a crybaby. He should have been playing last year. Obviously, Chicago fans are going to kill me for that, but to me, Derrick Rose is a crybaby, and I blame him for the reason the Bulls didn't go on. The Bulls gave the Heat a run for their money. If he would have came back in Game 2 or Game 3, it would have been over for the Heat. But I don't care.
I was just a joke.
It's all in all very impressive. Something we talked about was how it's been so long since we've had no-hitters. Last year it seemed like it was happening every other week, and now this season we've gone 3.5 months, almost 4 months into the season, and we just got our first no-hitter.
I definitely had no-hitter blue balls this season. Ever since that Darvish game at the beginning of the year where it almost happened, got broken up in the 9th. Then there was that Anibal Sanchez game. Then there was another game. It's just nice to see some relief. And we finally got one through. Hopefully this opens up the floodgates and we see a couple more because they're always exciting. I mean, I like quicker baseball games to begin with. So, I mean, it's always nice. And it just makes it more exciting, the drama at the end of the 9th inning. Hopefully it's a sign of a few more to come this season.
Yeah, I agree with you, Johnny. Like you said, during the 9th inning, I was up, I was pacing around, I was biting my nails. I could barely even watch because I was so nervous for the guy, but good for him.
Yeah, it was all great. Another pitcher who had a pretty big week, CC Sabathia had his 200th win. Not much to say about it. It's pretty amazing. Obviously, this man's on his way to the Hall of Fame, and he's on his way. I mean, he's not old, but he's not exactly a spring chicken either. So he's got a little bit of time left, and he could win quite a few more games.
Yeah, I've always kind of been a big CC fan myself. 200 wins is it's a huge accomplishment, and good for him. I mean, well deserved. He's been pretty dominating almost his whole career, no matter where he's been. And I know there's been a lot of times where late in the seasons he's gotten a lot of big wins and pitched a lot of key innings that he needed to pitch. So good for him. I think he deserves a huge congratulations on that one.
Two things I want to say about the CC Sabathia 200th win. One, I mean, this guy could be one of the last few people to actually have a shot at 300. I mean, I think he's 32 years old right now. And, I mean, he has a shot. He plays on a winning team. And, I mean, he could realistically pitch 8 more years. And, if he gets around about like 13, 15 wins a season, I mean, he's definitely in that realm. And if the Yankees have just an awesome lineup one year, I mean, he's always been a threat to get 20 wins. So that might help that situation. The second thing that I want to talk about CC Sabathia about is the fact that he's actually lived up to his monstrous contract. I mean, we see so often Mark Teixeira, ARod, Ryan Howard, all these players, and a lot of them are hitters who you think are going to be more consistent on a year-to-year basis, really don't live up to those monstrous contracts. I'm going to be really old by the time Albert Pujols' contract is over. and he's declined drastically in the past 2 years. But CC Sabathia somehow keeps on trudging along, is still one of the best pitchers in baseball, not as good as he was a couple years ago, but he is clearly living up to that ace-level contract that the Yankees paid for him.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to see. Obviously, going on to the hitters. The hitters have not really came through. There hasn't been many big contracts for hitters lately that have really worked themselves out. Honestly, the smaller contracts for the hitters have been better. Mike Trout, some people said, got screwed on his contract. I think it was perfectly fine, and that's been great. But yeah, the pitchers have been kind of coming through with things, and it'll be interesting to see how things play out. I mean, I don't want to see this as like a trend. I would never want to see it so like all the pitchers are making all the money and hitters can't really make any money whatsoever. But I mean, I think obviously it's working right now, and you have these contract busts specifically on his own team like ARod, and it's nice to see that they're getting their money worth. Some of CC's teammates have just been cleared for rehab starts. ARod and Jeter were both cleared this past week, neither of which have had really stellar performances. ARod, after tonight's game, is 1 for 9, and was only a single. And then Jeter, I believe, is 1 for 4. They haven't really had stellar starts, but this is going to be big for this team coming in the second half. I don't really see them catching up. But I don't know. Anything could help the Yankees at this point.
Yeah, I'm kind of going to take two different roads on this one. I think the Jeter comeback will be kind of huge for the Yankees. It's going to give them a little bit of enthusiasm and people something to get excited about. They haven't been playing too well lately, so I think Jeter coming back, he's the captain, he's the franchise guy, he's New York for the Yankees, and is ESPN still breaking into live coverage of every ARod at bat?
Oh my God, it's so fucking annoying. They had a little nice little 10-minute documentary on like the stages of LeBron James, middle of the fucking thing.
ARod
taking batting practice.
Oh my God, so bad. I don't know how they can even
taking batting practice for a single A baseball team.
Yeah, whoever's in charge of marketing and whatever for ESPN. That dude needs to rethink his life for a minute there, because that ARod thing is just so bad. Like, when I saw it to begin with, I couldn't believe they were even doing it. But first of all, who even gives a shit about ARod anymore? But yeah, hey, thumbs up, ESPN, great job. Way to go.
You know what? I'm going to take another approach on this. I'm fine with it breaking into ARod's minor league at bats or whatever, because at least ESPN is showing some baseball. There you go. I said it. As far as ARod and Jeter are coming back, I mean, the Yankees definitely need help. Definitely they're 5.5 games back at this moment. Whether the help can be Jeter and ARod was yet to be seen, but they just need some players, and those are two pretty good players. They're not what they used to be, but you know, for the past 15 years, we've seen a lot of Jeter and ARod. They've been pretty much the face of baseball, and it's kind of not the same league without them there, so I can't wait to see them back. I know ARod gets a lot of crap, but you know what? I like ARod just because he doesn't give a shit, and he doesn't care what you think, and he just reminds me of a professional wrestler, just like a bad guy, and I love wrestling. He doesn't care what you think, and he's just going to rub it in your face, and he's going to be that character that he is, so more power to him. Can't wait to see him back, and I hope he does something kind of douchey.
He is a douchebag, and...
He is the douchebag.
Yeah, I like Jeter. I'll give Jeter that. Jeter's on my very short list of Yankees that I can respect. But outside of that, ARod can fuck himself.
Hey.
Something they've talked a lot about on MLB.com and even the little bit of baseball coverage ESPN gives, is a lot of people are saying there's a good chance that ARod will never be a Yankee again. Granted, he's in the kind of the rehab stages right now, but a lot of people are saying with the whole steroid stuff, MLB is going to end up coming down, and he's going to end up getting suspended before he ever makes it back to a Yankee uniform. Do you guys think that? Do you think we'll see ARod in a Yankee uniform ever again?
Yeah, because it's going to be nothing but a publicity stunt. Right now, the Yankees could use every bit of that they need, even if they have no intention on him producing for them again. I don't know if the suspensions will come as soon as everybody thinks they do, and maybe they'll come quicker than I think they do. But I think he'll be back in a Yankees pinstripe uniform just because they need the press right now, and I think that's really all it's going to be. I don't think they're expecting him to produce, but it's going to give him news coverage, and that's really what it's all about right now for ARod.
I mean, they don't really have a consistent third base option. Euclid keeps getting hurt. Eduardo Nunez. And they just need someone, and they need some bats. And, I mean, they're paying ARod the money, so why not let him play? So he's going to play. As a Dodger fan, we don't have a third baseman. You're tired of ARod? We'll take him, eat some of his contract. We'll pay some of that contract. I'll get an ARod bobblehead for the Dodgers out of this. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Let's get these deals in progress. Come on.
He's yours. You can deal with him out there. We hear too much.
Oh man, the world might explode. ARod, Puig, on the same team.
Yeah, the Dodgers are probably the only bunch who would pay him the money too. Another person who I never thought would play in the pros again. Manny Ramirez has been signed to a minor league single-A contract for the Texas Rangers. I still don't think he's going to make it. I mean, it's kind of they've cushioned themselves on this contract pretty well to not get screwed over. They almost owe him nothing at this point, and if it works out, then it's going to be good for them because they could use the DH help. But if it doesn't work out, they're not really out on that much money, and they don't really ever owe him anything. Do you guys think we'll ever see Manny Ramirez in a Rangers uniform?
I don't think they can. He's just too much to gamble on right now. Manny Ramirez is just like, he's one of those guys you just never done. Like, when you expect him to go away, he comes back, and then you think he's gone again, and he comes back.
So you'd say he's like herpes?
I don't know. I can't really speak for anybody on that because I've never had it, but hey, if that's what you want to use, then you can use it. But the big news I heard about Ramirez was there's a chance that he and ARod could end up playing each other down in the minor leagues. Is that correct?
That's awesome.
Wouldn't that be a throwback right there?
Yeah. That would be very interesting. I haven't heard that, but that'd be awesome to see that.
Just for the record, I've never had herpes, but as far as Manny Ramirez goes, I hope he comes back to the majors. The Rangers have they're only half a game out, I believe, of the division right now, but they've definitely had a power outage of late, so they definitely need some hitting. Whether or not Manny Ramirez is that guy, it's yet to be seen, but why not? It's a very low risk contract. Lance Berkman has just been gimpy lately. They need a DH, a regular DH. Texas Rangers have one of the best hitting ballparks in the entire country. Seems like a good fit. I know they put a lot of stuff in his contract where his hair has to be a certain length, behavioral stuff. Manny Ramirez knows this is the last stop. It's put up or shut up. And so why not see Manny Ramirez go at it one more time? I'm all for it.
Do you guys know what his stats have been like, both in Japan and then whatever little he's played right now?
It was in Taiwan, and I'm sure Johnny can better elaborate on stats, but he did pretty well in Taiwan from what I know.
I think he just got homesick was a lot of what I heard.
Yeah, and he said from the get-go he always planned on playing in the MLB again, but I mean, from what I know, he did pretty good overseas, and I haven't heard what he's done since he's been back. I haven't heard anything bad. I mean, the only reason I know about ARod and Jeter doing so bad is because they've been doing so bad, and everyone talks about how bad they've been doing. So I imagine if nobody's talking about how bad Manny Ramirez is doing, he hasn't been doing terrible.
I mean, he definitely did well in Taiwan. I mean, we can take those stats with the greatest salt. I mean, he was definitely one of the most productive hitters on this team. I believe he would hit over 300, and he had a number of home runs, nothing crazy. I'm pretty sure the season's a lot shorter there. So, I mean, he had also some really funny, moments. I'm pretty sure he, slid to second. It was 15 feet short. I saw some footage on that. It was pretty funny. I think he had a really funny, home run trot at one point. I mean, he's just an entertaining guy to have around. He did pretty well in Taiwan. I think he can DH for the Rangers. Hopefully he has something left in the tank.
Yeah. Somebody else who made their return this week, we don't want to talk about it too much, but Bryce Harper came back. First game, second pitch, hit a home run. This is big for the Nationals because not only is he a big run producer for that team, he is the spirit and the emotion, and he is the fun behind that team. He's clear in the way the best hitter on the team, but he is kind of the spirit is the only word that comes to my mind that behind that team.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, Josh. They're far better with him than they are without him, and you see the energy and kind of the enthusiasm that he gives to Washington. And it was exciting to come and see him hit a home run on his first at-bat back, but you can tell that the Nationals are kind of taking it easy with him. He was planned to have a scheduled weekend off this weekend, but he insisted that he played, and he ended up playing. So you can tell that they're kind of slowing down on him and maybe taking it easy with him this time, but the Nationals need every bit of Bryce Harper that he can get right now, and you've seen that right now from this little bit that he's been back. They've been playing far better than they were.
Bryce Harper has been the best player on every single team that he's ever been on, whether it's been T-ball, whether it's been Little League, whether it's been college, in the minors, and now on the Nationals. I'm pretty sure his dad's sperm, he was the best. He was the best hitter amongst all of them too. And it's just good to see him back on the team. They obviously really need him. He started out 2 for 21. It seemed like there was some lingering injury issues with Bryce Harper, but he went, I think, 3 for 4 today with 3 steals. So Bryce Harper is back. That's no clown statement. The Nationals are going to be a team to be reckoned with in the second half.
It's great to see him back. Obviously, this is going to help him. We all had Nationals going. I know Ryan and I both had them going to the World Series prior to the season. A lot of analysts had them going to the World Series, if not winning the World Series prior to the season started. And they're nowhere near that right now. And obviously, he's been out for a while. They've had some other injuries. So this will be good for him. Speaking of injuries. Speaking of injuries, Paul Konerko and Jesse Crain for the White Sox have been put on the disabled list. I try to do my best to stay away from White Sox news. The only reason I really wanted to cover this was because of the Jesse Crain news. Jesse Crain was one of the best relievers available in free agency. Not free agency, but in coming up to the trade deadline here. A lot of rumors that he was going to end up in Detroit, and possibly some of the other teams that are looking for some relief / closer help. He's had a phenomenal season, was actually put on the All-Star team, not in a finals vote, but actually elected to the All-Star team, but is not going to be able to do it because he's on the DH. How does this hurt his trade value, and do you see him, does he still end up in Detroit or in another team, or is he going to be in a White Sox uniform for the rest of the year?
For me, I think I don't know if he'll end up in Detroit, but I think that Chicago's going to shop him so hard that somebody's going to pick him up, whether it be Detroit or anybody else who needs him, because the ultimate sellers right now, I think, are the White Sox. So I think he's gone regardless, even if he is injured right now.
Yeah.
Before I get to Jesse Crain, I just wanted to send out a message to Paul Konerko. You've been dropped from my fantasy team. Good riddance. Never want to see you again. You're a bum. No, he's had a great career, but he's obviously at the tail end of it. This injury is very unfortunate for him. I hope he gets better, but not on my fantasy team. Jesse Crain, we'll see. As long as he's healthy by the time the trade deadline is approaching, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to get something for him. The cost of a middle reliever in trade value is pretty low. It's just that those teams that, are willing to deal, like the White Sox, they're not playing for anything. They don't need a middle reliever. They're gonna fetch a mediocre, probably a pretty poor prospect out of it anyway, and I think his trade value is probably gonna stay at that as long as he's healthy.
Yeah, I think the White Sox are sellers, big sellers. I don't really think anybody on the team is fully safe. Maybe Chris Sale, but that's about it. And like Ryan said, if he doesn't end up in Detroit, which I think Detroit needs him, I think he'll be healthy by the trade deadline. So I think he's going to Detroit still. But if not, somebody will take him because the Sox are going to shop him around hard. He's one of their best players right now. And it's sad that he's a middle relief and he's one of their best players, but that's what it is. And they need prospects right now. The Sox are looking, from what I know, to clear house and build up the farm system, and that's about the extent of where they're looking to go with it.
Josh, just before you go any farther, I know you've stayed away from it. We've always made it a point to stay away from the White Sox. Is there anything that you want to air out right now about the White Sox, or is this not the right time yet?
Let's do it.
I kind of feel like this is the proper moment to do it.
I've said it from the get-go. Not from the get-go, but I've said it for a few weeks now. They're the worst team, in my opinion, in all of baseball. I don't care if their record doesn't reflect that. They play like the worst team in baseball. They play worse than the Astros play. They play worse than the Marlins play. They're just a terrible team. And as a White Sox fan, I would like to see them clear house. If I could have my dream of pick a few people who can stay, it'd be Chris Sale, Addison Reed, and I really like Connor Gillespie, but he's kind of a nobody. He's a bench player for us. I just really like him. He's young, and he's been hitting very well, and he's a good third baseman, in my opinion. I'd like to see him stay at third. The rest of them can all fucking go. And you know what? We'll eat their contract too. They can go. Everybody can have everybody for free, including Alex Rios and Jesse Crane and all the people want. Jake Peavy when he gets back from injury in a couple weeks. They can all fucking go. They're a terrible team, and they're not getting better. It's not like it's a matter of like, well, once we have this guy back, or once we get through this hard part of our schedule. Like, we just won 2 or 3 from the Orioles, and then immediately go and get swept by the Rays. Like, 2 teams of equal talent, and we got shut out one day, only scored 1 run today, and blew a 5-run lead the day before that. It's just like, it's frustrating, and like I said, I've said it for a while, they're the worst team in baseball. I would never, I guess, stray away from that. Until something massive changes, I think they're going to clear house. I don't think Robin Ventura will be the coach next year. I think there's going to be a lot of things that will change. It won't be the same White Sox next year.
Well, tell us how you really feel.
Yep. Speaking of another team that hasn't been doing so hot, but they started out much better, Roy Oswalt of the Colorado Rockies hurt himself this evening. He's only, I believe, had 3 starts since he's been back in the pros. Took some time off. Obviously, this doesn't really hurt the Rockies because the Rockies kind of hurt themselves with all their other injuries, and just even before their injuries, they just started to suck after their hot start. But this kind of hurt Roy Oswalt. I mean, he was back, and I mean, it was good. I enjoyed seeing him pitch again, and I mean, he seems to be headed for the DL. If not, I mean, even if he's not heading for the DL, someone who's previously had surgery and getting up there in age, I mean, this just not good for him.
Yeah, here we go again. With Roy Oswalt, anytime you feel like you're moving in a positive direction, it's always 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's just he can't ever seem to put any consistency together, stay healthy for a long period of time, and just put it together at all right now. But I guess he's kind of I guess it's kind of been the trend with the Rockies too. They started off really well, and they've kind of fallen back a little bit in the last few months here. But like I said, with Roy Oswalt, I guess it didn't really hurt the Rockies. Well, maybe it hurt the Rockies a little bit more than it hurt Oswalt. But, same stance on Oswalt. If he makes a return, cool. If he does anything good, cool. But you can't expect anything out of him.
The problem with the Rockies is they have no starting rotation, and if you really needed Roy Oswalt to be the savior of your team probably wasn't going to get saved to begin with. I mean, in all due respect to Yoli Chacin and Jorge De La Rosa and your Tyler Chatwoods who have had decent years, the rotation sucks, and it's going to get hotter in Colorado. Those balls are going to go even further, and they're just not that talented of a pitching staff. I know last year they tried to do that whole 75 pitch limit thing or whatever. I mean, they've tried to work a lot. They've tried to get a lot out of the very little that they have. And this team was just obviously due for some regression, and we're starting to see that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't really defend the man much. The team sucks. He doesn't really hurt the team as a whole, but it's just a shame. I mean, I like watching him pitch. I mean, he's one of the, I guess, bigger names in recent time. Obviously, he hasn't been too great.
That's a sad thought.
Yeah. And he hasn't been too good in the past 2-3 years, but I mean, if we're talking past 6 years or so, I mean, he was fun to watch for a while, and I thought we were going to see someone who was capable of being a number 3, 4, maybe 5 guy, and clearly that's not going to happen.
Well, hey everybody, that's our show for the week. We hope everyone had a great 4th of July weekend. Thanks for listening.
You can find us on Twitter at WoodWithHandles, on Facebook.com/WoodWithHandles. Search for us on YouTube if you find us. Like us. Subscribe to our page. Thumbs up. All that great stuff. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Give us some ratings. As we discussed earlier in the show, ratings mean a lot to us. It would really help.
Baseball.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Josh.
Johnny.